Tai-1 pressed his hand against the command console, trying to ignore the shaking in his four-fingered hand. The bridge of his ship, once gleaming with efficient technology, now flickered with dying lights and sparking panels. Emergency alarms wailed in the background. "Captain, life support is failing in sections 3 through 7, reported First Officer Du Hyun, his usually pristine uniform now torn and stained with the greenish fluid that served as their blood. Tai-1 nodded grimly. Around him, his crew worked frantically to keep their damaged vessel functional. The attack had come without warning, brutal and efficient. Their engines were crippled, navigation systems destroyed, and half their crew injured. "How many survivors?" Tai-1 asked. 23, replied Du Hyun. 6 are badly injured. The ship shuddered again as another system failed. Tai-1 looked at the emergency beacon control, the one option he had hoped to avoid. "We must activate the beacon," he said finally. His words caused the bridge crew to freeze. Medical Officer Minji stepped forward, her face showing clear concern. "Captain, you know what will happen if we do," she said quietly. "No one answers distress calls from our kind anymore." Tai-1 knew she was right. Their people, labeled as technological scavengers by the Galactic Concord, had been effectively blacklisted. Most species in the galaxy had treaties explicitly forbidding aid to undesirable species during conflicts. His people had been exploring and salvaging abandoned technology for generations. It was their way of life. "We were in neutral territory," argued Engineer Sang-hoon from his damaged console. "They had no right to attack us. Rights matter little when you're considered vermin." Tai-1 replied bitterly. "But we have no choice. Without help, we will all die here." With a decisive movement, he activated the emergency beacon. The system hummed to life, broadcasting their coordinates and distress call across all standard frequencies. "Now we wait," said Du Hyun, his voice hollow. Hours passed. The temperature on the bridge dropped as power systems continued to fail. Tai-1 remembered the attack, their ship peacefully scanning an abandoned sector when the Concord patrol appeared. There had been no warnings, no demands to leave, just immediate, devastating weapons fire. "Captain," called Communications Officer Yuna, "life support will fail completely in 3 hours." Tai-1 nodded. No one had answered their call, as expected. In the cold silence of space, their people would join countless others who had disappeared without trace or mourning. "We should power down non-essential systems," he suggested. "Extend life support as long as possible." As the crew worked to implement his orders, a strange sound came from Yuna's console, a series of beeps in an unfamiliar pattern. "Captain," she said, confusion evident in her voice, "I'm receiving a signal. It's not using standard Concord protocols." The bridge crew froze. Tai-1 moved quickly to her station. "Can you identify it?" "No, sir. It's not in our database. The language pattern is completely unknown." Tai-1 felt a strange mixture of hope and fear. "Put it through." The speakers crackled before a clear voice emerged, speaking words in an unknown language. After a moment, the voice switched to different languages, apparently trying to find one they would understand. Finally, the voice spoke in basic trade language. "This is Captain Ji-hoo of the United Earth ship Sunrise. We've received your distress call and are approaching your coordinates. Please confirm if you can understand this message." The bridge erupted in confused chatter. Tai-1 raised his hand for silence. "United Earth. I've never heard of this species or alliance," said Du Hyun. "Nor have I," replied Tai-1. He hesitated only briefly before activating the communication channel. "This is Captain Tai-1 of the exploration vessel Horizon Star. We understand you. Our ship has sustained critical damage, and we have injured crew." There was a brief pause before the response came. "Captain Tai-1, we're approximately 40 minutes from your position. Can your life support hold until then?" "Barely," Tai-1 replied. "May I ask, why are you responding to our call? Do you not recognize our ship configuration?" Another pause. Longer this time. Should we? We're not familiar with your vessel type, but that doesn't matter. You sent a distress call. We're obligated to help. The simplicity of the response stunned everyone. Prepare the ship for visitors, Ta-1 ordered his crew. And be ready for anything. We don't know who these humans are or what they want. As the crew hurried to comply, Ta-1 stared at the viewscreen showing the empty space beyond their crippled vessel. For the first time in hours, he felt a flicker of hope. When the United Earth ship Sunrise appeared 40 minutes later, the entire crew gathered at the viewing ports to see their potential rescuers. The approaching ship was unlike any vessel in the Galactic Concord. Asymmetrical, with odd angles and exposed components that would be considered primitive by Concord standards. Yet it moved with surprising grace for its bulky appearance. "They're hailing us again," reported Yuna. "Captain Ta-1, we're preparing to dock with your vessel. Our medical team is standing by for your injured." As the strange ship maneuvered alongside them, Ta-1 couldn't help but wonder why these unknown beings had answered when no one else would. Whatever their reasons, they represented his crew's only chance for survival. "Let's hope these humans are as good as their word," he said quietly as the airlock indicators began to cycle. The sound of the outer doors opening echoed through the silent ship. Ta-1 straightened his uniform and prepared to meet the first aliens who had shown his people kindness in generations. The airlock doors slid open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Ta-1 and his officers stood rigidly, unsure what to expect from these unknown rescuers. 3 figures entered their ship, wearing sleek environmental suits with clear faceplates that revealed their features. Ta-1 stared in surprise. These humans looked remarkably similar to his own people, except they had 5 fingers instead of 4, smoother skin, and lacked the characteristic ridge patterns along their temples. They were bipedal, with forward-facing eyes and hair confined mostly to their heads. The lead human removed her helmet, revealing short black hair. "Captain Ta-1. I'm Captain Jihu of the Earth ship Sunrise." Ta-1 hesitated before responding. "Yes, thank you for answering our distress call." Captain Jihu nodded and gestured to her companions. "This is Dr. Yunmai, our Chief Medical Officer, and Chief Engineer Subin. We've brought emergency supplies and medical equipment." Dr. Yunmai stepped forward, carrying a large case. "Captain, we'd like to tend to your wounded immediately." Min-ji, Ta-1's medical officer, looked concerned. "Our biology may be very different from yours. Your treatments could harm rather than help." The human doctor smiled reassuringly. "We'll start with basic scans to understand your physiology. We won't administer any treatments until we're certain they're safe." Ta-1 gave Min-ji a slight nod, and she led Dr. Yunmi toward their makeshift medical bay. Meanwhile, Engineer Subin was already examining the damaged corridor with obvious interest. "Your ship design is fascinating," Subin commented. "I've never seen propulsion systems configured quite like this." Sang-hoon, Ta-1's engineer, appeared torn between suspicion and professional curiosity. "Our technology is considered unusual by most species." Captain Jihu seemed to sense the tension. "Perhaps we should discuss your situation more privately, Captain Ta-1." In what remained of Ta-1's command center, the 2 captains sat across from each other while their officers worked together to stabilize the damaged ship. "I must ask the obvious question." Ta-1 began cautiously. "Why did you respond to our distress call? And how is it possible we've never encountered your species before?" Jihu leaned forward. "To answer your second question first, we're relatively new to deep space exploration. Earth only developed faster than light travel about 40 years ago. We've been cautiously exploring outward from our home system since then." 40 years. Ta-1 couldn't hide his surprise. "The Galactic Concord has existed for thousands of years. How did your development go unnoticed?" "We've wondered that ourselves. Our system is in a relatively isolated sector. As for why we answered your call," Jihu shrugged slightly, "it's fundamental to our space protocols. Any vessel in distress deserves assistance, regardless of origin. Tae-Won studied the human carefully. You truly don't know who we are, do you? Should we? Ji. Before Tae-Won could respond, an alarm sounded. Both captains rushed to the bridge where Yuna was monitoring communications. Captain, long-range sensors have detected a Concorde patrol vessel changing course toward our position, she reported anxiously. Tae-Won's heart sank. They must have detected your ship approaching us. Ji-Hoo frowned. Is that a problem? Yes, a significant one. Tae-Won hesitated, then decided these humans deserved the truth. My people are called the Moran. We're considered outcasts by the Galactic Concorde. Why? Asked Ji-Hoo. We're technological salvagers. We explore abandoned sectors and recover forgotten technology. The Concorde claims we steal their intellectual property, but the truth is they want exclusive control over advanced technology. Do-hyun interrupted. Captain, the Concorde vessel will be here in less than 3 hours. Ji-Hoo turned to her communications officer, who had joined them on the bridge. Contact the Sunrise. Tell them to accelerate our repair schedule. Tae-Won shook his head. You don't understand. When they arrive, they'll demand you surrender us. If you refuse, they'll consider you enemies of the Concorde. They attack you without provocation, Ji-Hoo stated firmly. Where I come from, that's unacceptable. In the medical bay, Dr. Yunmai had quickly adapted her equipment to treat the injured Miran crew. Minji watched with growing respect as the human doctor worked efficiently, despite never having encountered their species before. Your medical knowledge is impressive, Minji commented while helping stabilize a crew member with a severe leg injury. Dr. Yunmai smiled. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. We've had to become adaptable. The Concorde doesn't encourage adaptation, Minji said bitterly. They prefer rigid adherence to established protocols. That seems limiting, Dr. Yunmai replied as she finished bandaging the wound. Different perspectives often lead to breakthroughs. Meanwhile, engineers Su Bin and Sang-Hoon were working together to restore power to critical systems. Your approach is unusual, Sang-Hoon observed as Su Bin created an improvised bypass for a damaged power conduit. But effective. Su Bin grinned. Sometimes the unorthodox solution is the best one. That's what got us to the stars earlier than many thought possible. Back on the bridge, Tae-Won and Ji-Hoo were developing a plan. Your ship can't survive another attack, Ji-Hoo said, examining the damage reports. We need to get your crew to safety before the Concorde arrives. They'll track us wherever we go, Tae-Won replied hopelessly. Then we'll have to be smarter than them. Ji-Hoo pulled up a star chart. This nearby asteroid field, could it mask our signatures if we moved both ships inside? Tae-Won looked surprised. Possibly, but navigating those dense fields is extremely dangerous. Dangerous is better than certain capture, Ji-Hoo pointed out. We can tow your vessel if necessary. For the first time, Tae-Won felt a genuine spark of hope. These humans were unlike any species he had encountered in his long career, willing to help strangers without political calculation, innovative in their thinking, and apparently unafraid of the Concorde's power. As both crews worked frantically to prepare for their escape attempt, Tae-Won found Ji-Hoo observing her people working alongside his. Your crew adapted quickly to working with aliens, he remarked. Ji-Hoo smiled slightly. Humans have dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for centuries. We've had plenty of time to prepare ourselves for the idea, and yet you seem unprepared for the political realities of galactic society. Perhaps, Ji-Hoo acknowledged, or perhaps we simply haven't accepted them yet. As the Concorde vessel drew closer, the two damaged ships slowly moved toward the asteroid field, their futures now bound together by a distress call that only humans had answered. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic maze of spinning rocks and ice fragments. On the bridge of the Sunrise, Captain Ji-Hoo studied the tactical display while her navigator plotted their course. Their ship is accelerating, reported the sensor officer. Estimated intercept in 45. Jihu nodded calmly. And our time to reach the asteroid field? 40 minutes at current speed, Captain. Taiwan watched the humans work with growing admiration. Despite facing an unknown threat from the powerful Galactic Concorde, they showed remarkable composure. "The Concorde vessel is hailing us," said Communications Officer Hansol. Jihu glanced at Taiwan. "Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced alien with pale blue skin and elaborate uniform markings. His eyes narrowed when he saw Taiwan standing beside the human captain. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Verix of the Galactic Concorde Security Force. You are harboring fugitives. Power down your engines and prepare to surrender the Moran criminals to our custody." Jihu stepped forward. "Commander Verix, I am Captain Jihu of the United Earth ship Sunrise. We responded to a distress call from a damaged vessel, as is our obligation under space navigation laws." "Your obligations do not apply here," Verix replied coldly. "The Moran are salvage thieves who violated restricted space. Their punishment has been decided by Concorde law." "Punishment?" Jihu's voice remained steady. "You mean the unprovoked attack that nearly killed their entire crew?" Verix's expression hardened. "I see they've already poisoned you with their lies. The Moran are technological scavengers who steal advancements they didn't earn. Stand aside, unknown species, or face the consequences of defying Concorde authority." Jihu cut the transmission and turned to Taiwan. "I think we've heard enough." "Captain," Taiwan said urgently, "you don't understand what you're facing. The Concorde controls thousands of worlds. Their military power is beyond anything you've encountered." "Perhaps," Jihu replied, "but I understand injustice when I see it." She turned to her crew. "Maximum speed to the asteroid field. Prepare tractor beams to help guide the Moran vessel." As both ships accelerated toward the asteroid field, Diplomatic Officer J1 approached Jihu with a concerned expression. "Captain, I've been reviewing what data we have on Concorde communications protocols. Their language contains hierarchical markers that suggest a rigid social structure." Jihu raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "They seem to operate on strict levels of authority." Commander Verix spoke as though we were automatically beneath him in status simply because we're unknown. Taiwan nodded. "The Concorde functions entirely on hierarchical standing. New species are automatically assigned to the lowest tiers until they prove their worth, usually through technological contribution or military strength." "And your people?" asked Jihu. "We were once respected for our ability to recover and understand lost technologies. But when we began keeping some discoveries for ourselves instead of surrendering them to the Concorde, they labeled you criminals," J1 finished. The ship shuddered as the first warning shots from the Concorde vessel streaked past them. "They're firing," exclaimed Navigator Min. "Evasive maneuvers," Jihu ordered calmly. "Extend shields around the Moran vessel." Taiwan watched in amazement as the human ship's defensive systems activated, creating an energy field that encompassed both vessels. "Your technology," he began, "is different," Jihu said simply. "We developed independently from Concorde influence." The Concorde ship fired again, this time scoring a direct hit that made both vessels shake violently. "Shields at 70%, reported the tactical officer. "Their weapons are powerful, Captain. Time to asteroid field." 3 minutes. Jihu turned to Taiwan. "Tell me about these restricted areas your people explore. What makes them so important to the Concorde?" Taiwan hesitated before answering. "Most contain technology from the predecessors, a civilization that vanished thousands of years ago. The Concorde claims exclusive rights to study their remains." "And what did your ship find that warranted?" "We discovered a data core containing information about energy manipulation that contradicted Concorde teaching. Such discoveries threatened their control over technological advancement." The ships lurched as another blast hit their shields. "Shields at 50%, came the report. "We're entering the asteroid field now." The view outside changed as massive rocks surrounded them, creating a natural barrier between them and their pursuer. "The Concorde ship is slowing," reported the sensor officer. "They're more cautious about entering the field." Jihu smiled slightly. "Good. That gives us time. Engineer Subin, what's the status of the Miran vessel's repairs?" Subin's voice came through the comm system. "We've restored partial power to their engines and stabilized life support, but they can't survive another attack. Then we need a more permanent solution." Jihu turned to J1. "Contact Earth Command. Explain our situation and request diplomatic support." "That will take time," J1 warned. "At this distance, the message won't reach Earth for days." "Then we'll have to manage until help arrives," Jihu replied firmly. As the two ships maneuvered deeper into the asteroid field, Ta-1 watched the humans work together with impressive coordination. Their technology was different, sometimes seemingly primitive, other times surprisingly advanced, but their determination was unwavering. "Your people take great risks for strangers," he observed to Jihu. "It's part of who we are," she replied. "Throughout our history, the greatest heroes were often those who stood up for others when no one else would." The sensor officer called out suddenly, "Captain, 3 more Concorde vessels have entered the system." Taewon's hope faded. "They've called for reinforcements. Even in this asteroid field, we can't hide forever." Jihu studied the tactical display thoughtfully. "Then perhaps it's time we stopped hiding and started negotiating." She turned to J1. "Prepare a formal diplomatic communication. We're going to introduce humanity to the Galactic Concorde on our terms." As J1 began drafting the message, Ta-1 realized these humans were unlike any species he had encountered in his long career. They didn't understand their place in the galactic hierarchy, and remarkably, they didn't seem to care. For the first time in generations, someone was standing against the Concorde's injustice. Whether through naivety or courage, these humans had answered more than just a distress call. They had answered a silent prayer for change that had gone unheard for far too long. Engineer Subin wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the complex machinery inside the Miran engine room. Around her, a mixed team of human and Miran engineers worked frantically to implement her unusual plan. The ship vibrated as another explosion rocked the asteroid field nearby. "They're getting closer to our position," warned Sang-hoon, his 4-fingered hands moving skillfully across the control panel. "These shield modifications won't hold against a direct assault." Subin nodded without looking up from her work. "We don't need them to hold forever, just long enough." On the bridge of the Sunrise, Captain Jihu watched the tactical display as 4 Concorde vessels methodically searched the asteroid field, destroying large rocks to clear their path. "They're being thorough," commented Do-hyun, who had joined Jihu to coordinate their ship's movements. "And predictable," Jihu replied. She turned to Tactical Officer Q. "What's the status of those sensor packages we deployed?" "All 5 are active, Captain. They're broadcasting false signatures as planned." Jihu nodded with satisfaction. "And Engineer Subin's project?" "Yishi reports they're ready for the first test," replied Communications Officer Hansol. "Tell them to proceed." In the Miran engine room, Subin connected the final circuit in the strange device she had constructed from parts of both ships. It resembled no technology either species normally used, a hybrid creation born of necessity and innovation. "This goes against every engineering principle we're taught," Sang-hoon said, looking at the device with a mixture of concern and fascination. Subin grinned. "Sometimes the best solutions come from breaking the rules." "Ready?" Sang-hoon hesitated only briefly before nodding. Subin activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the engine room lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. On the monitoring screen, energy readings spiked dramatically before stabilizing at a new level. "It works," Subin exclaimed. She activated her communication link. "Captain, Phase 1 is successful. The resonance field is stable." Back on the bridge, Ji-Hu acknowledged the report. Excellent. Begin Phase 2. Tae-Won looked at the human captain with growing admiration. Your engineer's idea is brilliant, but extremely dangerous. Masking our ships by creating localized disturbances in the asteroid field's natural radiation patterns. No Moran would have considered such a risk. Why not? Asked Ji-Hu. Because it's never been done before, Tae-Won replied simply. The Concord discourages experimentation with unknown effects. Ji-Hu smiled slightly. Humans have a different perspective. Throughout our history, our greatest advances came from those willing to try what others thought impossible. The tactical display updated, showing the Concord ships changing course toward one of the false signatures. They've taken the bait, reported Q. Moving toward Decoy 3. Prepare for Phase 3, ordered Ji-Hu. All stations ready for burst propulsion on my mark. Su-Bin's voice came through the comm system. Captain, we've modified the Mirren vessel as discussed, but I should warn you, this is highly theoretical. The energy patterns we're creating have never been tested in actual space conditions. Noted, engineer. But right now, theoretical options are all we have. As the Concord ships converged on the false signature, Ji-Hu gave the order. Both vessels activated their modified engines simultaneously, creating the unique energy pattern that interacted with the asteroid field's natural radiation. For a brief moment, the space around them seemed to shimmer. It's working, whispered Tae-Won in amazement. The resonance effect is masking our actual position and giving us a window of opportunity, added Ji-Hu. Navigator Min, execute escape pattern Alpha. The two ships began to move slowly through the asteroid field, their modified engines creating a bubble of distorted energy that effectively rendered them invisible to standard Concord sensors. In the Moran engine room, Su-Bin monitored the system closely. The field is stable but consuming power rapidly. We have maybe 20 minutes before we need to shut down. It's enough, replied Sang-Hoon. Your people's approach to technology is unorthodox. Su-Bin laughed. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. On Earth, we'd call it jury-rigging or improvising. The Concord would call it dangerous, Sang-Hoon said, but with a new respect in his voice. They believe technological development should follow established, predictable paths. And that's why they fear your people's salvage work, Su-Bin realized. You find things that don't fit their established understanding. As the ships continued their careful exit from the asteroid field, the bridge crew of both vessels maintained tense silence. The tactical display showed the Concord ships still searching near the decoys, unaware that their quarry was slipping away. We're approaching the field boundary, reported Navigator Min after 15 tense minutes. Engineer Su-Bin, status? Asked Ji-Hu. Field stability at 30%, Captain. We're pushing the limits of what these systems can handle. Just a little longer, Ji-Hu encouraged. She turned to Tae-Won. Once we clear the asteroid field, we'll need to make a decision about our destination. Tae-Won nodded gravely. We cannot return to any known Miran outpost. The Concord will be watching them all now. Then perhaps it's time you visited Earth, Ji-Hu suggested. The suggestion hung in the air for a moment before Tae-Won responded. Your people would welcome fugitives from Concord justice. We would welcome visitors who have been unjustly persecuted, Ji-Hu corrected. Earth has its own history of standing against empires that abuse their power. Suddenly, alarms blared as the ship shuddered violently. What happened? Demanded Ji-Hu. The resonance field is collapsing. Su-Bin's voice came through urgently. We need to shut down now, or risk a catastrophic overload. Do it, ordered Ji-Hu. Tactical, status of Concord vessels. Q worked quickly at his console, still focused on the decoys, but once our signature reappears, they'll converge on our position immediately, finished Ji-Hu. Navigation. Prepare for maximum acceleration the moment we clear the asteroid field. We'll have only seconds before they detect us. As both ships emerged from the asteroid field, the modified engines shut down. For one brief, hopeful moment, it seemed they might escape unnoticed. Then alerts sounded across both bridges. Concord vessels have detected us, reported Q. All 4 ships changing course to G, whose expression remained determined. Execute emergency jump pattern. Let's show the Concorde how humans run when cornered. As the Sunrise engaged its unique propulsion system, creating a distortion effect unlike anything in Concorde technology, Taiwan watched in amazement. These humans, newcomers to the galactic stage, had just outmaneuvered the most powerful force in known space, not through superior firepower, but through creativity and courage. The stars stretched around them as both ships accelerated away from their pursuers, bound for a planet the Concorde had never heard of, a planet called Earth. Taiwan stood by the viewing window of Earth Orbital Station 7, watching the blue planet turn slowly below. After 3 weeks in human space, he still found the sight breathtaking. Behind him, the observation deck buzzed with activity as human and Miran crew members mingled freely. "It's quite a view, isn't it?" Captain Jehu joined him at the window. "Your ship's repairs are nearly complete." Taiwan nodded. "Thanks to your engineers, they accomplished in weeks what would have taken Miran technicians months." Su Bin says working with your technology has been educational for her team as well, Jehu replied. "The exchange of knowledge benefits us both." Their conversation was interrupted by Du Hyun, who approached with an urgent expression. "Captain, Earth Defense Command reports 3 unidentified vessels have entered the outer system. Their configuration matches Concorde design." Jehu's expression remained calm. "They found us sooner than expected. Please inform Admiral Park immediately." As Du Hyun hurried away, Taiwan turned to Jehu with concern. "This is what I feared. The Concorde never forgets those who defy them. They're about to discover that humans are equally persistent," Jehu said with quiet confidence. In the station's main conference room, Earth's leadership gathered with the Miran representatives. Admiral Park, a stern-faced woman with silver hair, studied the tactical display showing the approaching Concorde vessels. "They're maintaining distance just outside our defense perimeter," she observed, "likely assessing our capabilities." Defense Minister Jun nodded. "And sending a message. They want us to know they found us." Taiwan stepped forward. "With respect, Earth leaders, you don't understand what you're facing. The Concorde controls thousands of worlds. Their technology exceeds yours in many areas." "Perhaps," Admiral Park replied. "But they don't know that, do they? All they know is that 2 ships escaped their best efforts at capture." A communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Lid Concorde vessel." "On screen," ordered Park. The large display activated, showing a Concorde official even more elaborately decorated than Commander Varex had been. His cold eyes swept the room, lingering on the Miran representatives with obvious disdain. "I am High Commander Telex of the Galactic Concorde Diplomatic Corps. I address the leadership of the previously unknown species calling themselves humans." Admiral Park stepped forward. "I am Admiral Park of Earth Defense Command. We acknowledge your communication." Telex's expression remained stern. "Your species has interfered in Concorde justice by harboring known criminals. This is an unfortunate first contact between our civilizations." Minister Jun joined Admiral Park. "Our understanding differs. We responded to a distress signal from a damaged vessel, as any civilized society would do. Your ignorance of Concorde protocols is noted but does not excuse your actions," Telex replied. "We demand the immediate surrender of all Miran personnel for proper processing under Concorde law." "And if we refuse?" asked Admiral Park calmly. Telex's expression hardened. "Then your species will be categorized as hostile to Concorde interests. The consequences would be significant." "Before you make threats," Minister Jun said, "perhaps you should review the data we're transmitting." On a separate screen, images appeared showing Earth's defense fleet, dozens of vessels of varying sizes positioned strategically throughout the solar system. "What you see is only a fraction of our defensive capability," Admiral Park stated. "We prefer peaceful relations, but Earth has never responded well to threats." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Telex's face. The Concorde ships had detected only a small portion of Earth's military presence during their approach. This conversation would be more productive if conducted in person, Minister Jun suggested. "We invite you to send representatives to continue discussions on our orbital station." After a lengthy pause, Telex agreed. "A diplomatic team will shuttle to your station in 2 hours. Prepare appropriate reception protocols." When the transmission ended, Taiwan turned to the Earth leaders in amazement. "You handled that perfectly. The Concorde respects strength above all." Minister Jun smiled. "We've had our share of diplomatic challenges on Earth. Sometimes the appearance of strength is as important as strength itself." 2 hours later, the Concorde delegation arrived at the station. As they were escorted to the conference room, their expressions revealed surprise at seeing humans and Mirans working together as equals. The formal meeting began with typical diplomatic exchanges, but tension remained high. High Commander Telex repeated his demand for the Mirans to be surrendered. "The Concorde has maintained galactic order for thousands of years," he stated firmly. "New species must understand their place in the established hierarchy." "Earth has its own history with hierarchies," replied Minister Jun. "We found cooperation generally produces better outcomes than domination." Telex's aide whispered something in his ear, causing his expression to change slightly. "Our research division has completed preliminary analysis of your technological level. Your achievements are noteworthy for such an isolated species." Admiral Park nodded. "Our development has been independent of outside influence. Perhaps that explains our different perspectives." "Different perspectives can be valuable." Taiwan spoke up unexpectedly. All eyes turned to him as he continued. "The Moran people were once respected members of the Concorde until we questioned certain technological doctrines. You violated restricted zones and stole proprietary information," countered Telex. "We explored abandoned sectors and recovered lost knowledge," Taiwan corrected. "Knowledge the Concorde wished to suppress because it challenged their technological control." Before Telex could respond, Minister Jun intervened. "Rather than debating past grievances, let's discuss future possibilities. Earth proposes a knowledge exchange program between our civilizations, including the Mirans," added Admiral. Telex appeared ready to reject the idea immediately, but his aide whispered to him again, showing something on a datapad. After reviewing it, Telex's demeanor subtly shifted. The Concorde might consider such an arrangement, provided certain assurances are made regarding technological protocols. The negotiations continued for days. Eventually, a preliminary agreement was reached. Earth would be recognized as an independent power, and the Mirans, under their protection, would receive amnesty in exchange for sharing certain discoveries with the Concorde. 1 month later, as the new Earth Moran Research Institute was officially opened, Taiwan and Jihu stood together observing the mixed teams of scientists and engineers already at work. "Do you think the Concorde will honor the agreement?" asked Taiwan. "They'll test our boundaries," Jihu replied honestly. "But they've learned that humans respond to distress calls, including political ones." Taiwan smiled. "My people have a saying. The most valuable ally is the one who comes when no one else will. Earth has proven to be such an ally." In the main hall of the Institute, a simple plaque was unveiled bearing words in both human and Miran languages, with space below for future editions. When the distress signal was sent, only humans answered the call. Already, rumors were spreading through the quieter regions of Concorde space. Other marginalized species had begun transmitting coded distress signals toward Earth coordinates. For the first time in generations, those without voice in the Grand Concorde hierarchy had found someone willing